My name is Sari van Pooij. I'm the director of Intact Academy and of Agile Business Innovation. You can find us online on the appropriate website, www.intactacademy.com and www.agilebusinessinnovation.com. We help businesses create agile and agility and innovation, and we teach others to do that too. So if you're interested, really go to our websites. We welcome you with open arms. I was talking in the last blog about the relational development stages of groups, and it kind of goes together with this unplucking and unpeeling of your imago. Eric Berne, the founder of TA, had a very specific idea of this. You have to remember that Eric Berne was a psychiatrist and that he worked in psychiatric groups. So for him, looking at his patients, it was really important that they came in with a transferential imago, so an idea of what a group should be. Usually, if they're patients, a nightmare of what a group is going to be. And his idea is that as his patients adapt their old memories and their old imagos to a healthy group as it is, they will heal. So it's a reparative experience for them to be in a group where the boundaries are clear, where the leadership holds their task, where the members have their place, where people work together for a common purpose. And sometimes, of course, his patients came from families where all of that was either missing or very mixed up. So he worked with patients where maybe there were no parents, or the parents were abusive, or the children had to take their parents' place, or it wasn't clear what the family was doing, or, well, you can fill it out yourself because all of us come from good enough families. So with ups and downs, like all families have, and some worse than others. Anyway, his context when he was talking about group imago is this whole clinical idea of the adaptation of imago as a sign of health, as a reparative experience. Within business, of course, we hope that groups have a reparative experience, but we don't really work at that level explicitly. Of course, implicitly, we do work at that level because every group reignites your old memories, and at the same time, you're there between hope and fear that it'll be different, and the fear that it'll be the same as your imago or your history teaches you. Unfortunately, most people choose groups and partners based on their previous experience. So they, in a way, sometimes people are in groups, even work groups, and they recreate their own worst nightmare. Like they see, I don't know, someone comes into a work group and they imagine that every leader is very dictatorish or very dominant. They have nothing to say, or they create behavior so that they're not seen, or they do things that aren't recognized, and they go, see, it's the same as it always was. And then they simply reconfirm what we call their group script or their team script. And it's really painful. It's also painful for the other people in the team and the leader of the team, because they can see someone slipping away into this imago state and not checking the reality of the group. What you want in a work group is a good enough experience, good enough to be able to work together, good enough to get that excitement of being in a team, of belonging, and that requires something. I won't say that, work groups are always the reparative experience that Berne was hoping for within his psychiatric groups. But I would say that within a work context, you can create something that people dream of and that people remember. So we all remember, I hope, the moments in a group where you felt, oh, we're in flow together. This excitement of doing something together, perhaps racing against the clock to get something done, getting the pizza in and still being there at night, but finishing in the morning going, yay, we did that together. I know I've had groups within my multinational career. I was a director in multinationals for 23 years, where we've had memorable group experiences, usually under pressure with inadequate resources, trying to do things which were above the norm. So don't tell anyone this, but I would argue that actually giving groups less resources than they expect creates extraordinary group experiences, because you think differently if you don't have enough resources to get it done. We can see that during Corona times as well. I mean, none of us was resourced for this, and yet many of us survived, and some businesses actually thrived within this time, rethinking their purpose, rethinking their structure, accelerating their decision-making processes, giving people a sense that they were part of a group that was doing something that was bigger than the group goals, the immediate group goals. The problem at the moment is that we've switched to Imago. So but there was an Imago as is, and then we went into crisis mode, and now people are coming back from these times and they're having to readjust again. How do you readjust from a crisis situation? What I can see many of us do, in at least my clients, is that they are so addicted now to the adrenaline of being in a crisis. It's very difficult for them to readapt to a status quo, which is, to produce at a regular pace. Some leaders really have such a hard time switching that they're creating artificially crisis so that they keep on having that high. So I would argue in this time, well, two things. One is, as a group leader, you really do have the power and the possibility to lead by example and to create a group experience where people do have a reparative experience because they're in a group where they belong with all their oddities, and together you reach something bigger than they could reach themselves as an individual. So you do have, in any case, the power to do that. What I would argue, the second thing is, be very mindful at the moment, because we are going back to a steady state, albeit in a very volatile and uncertain environment. But this immediate sense of crisis, as a leader, you have to dim that down to create an imago where people have a belonging, even if they're not running on fumes of adrenaline. What a leader has to do at the moment is to go back and to reinvestigate what was the purpose of this group. What have we learned from this Corona time? Not to do everything different, but just to accelerate the process of integrating people, of working perhaps at a distance, of being able to connect through everything and decide more quickly. And at the same time, embrace again the fact that we're going to a state in the world where we will go back to some form of the production we had before. I wish you luck with that. And if you need help, give me a call.